Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Generational Dental Wealth Show. My name is Dr. Jermaine Fetty. As we delve into part 2 of our conversation with the Tooth Be Told podcast, we hop into some important concepts like the power of ownership, how we got into ownership, the power of working with family, as well as the importance of mentorship. This is a fun conversation. If you haven't already listened to part 1, go ahead and go back and listen in, and then come back and tune in to part 2 as we wrap up our conversation.
Let me ask you this, and this is kind of going back again. You traveled, you kind of went to different offices, correct?
Yes.
If that was going well, why would the whole office, owning your own office be something that still kept going? Does that make sense? So if you're doing well with the traveling and making what you need to make and so forth and taking care of your family, what benefit did you see in owning your own practice that made you stop that and to do this?
This is a topic I just discussed with my brother earlier today. And you have to get very clear with what you want, right? Because a lot of shiny things are going to possibly distract you from your goals, right? If you truly believe practice ownership is your goal, then you need to go for it and you need to make it happen, right? There are going to be things that might take you off that course if you're not necessarily sold on that particular endpoint. For myself personally, right? My wife is a hygienist. So by getting into practice ownership, she now has a home, right? She doesn't have to be a hygienist who is bouncing around from practice to practice. She can find fulfillment within that particular role, move into the office managerial role. And now other people in my lives can now move into leadership roles, right? Because I look at myself as just a springboard for everybody else around me. So for myself personally, to be honest with you, travel dentistry is more lucrative than practice ownership when you first start. Until you get things up,
thank you for saying that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like on top of that, you're writing things off differently. You don't have the same amount of expenses. I don't want to get into specifics, but I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, we know. I'm glad you told that truth, because a lot of people say, "Oh, well, no, you got to be an owner," and that may not be for everybody, but it's tough initially, and I think that's something that we don't talk enough about. How difficult.
Taking a step further, I'm not even going to say that it might not be for everybody. It is not for everybody. Practice ownership is not for everybody, and it's not getting easier. And I will say that as well, right? You're gonna have to have some type of business mind to yourself. You're gonna have to understand simple principles of economics, of marketing, if you really want to move into practice ownership. I know a lot of people say you can just delegate that stuff. You don't want to delegate something when you have $1 million loan in your head for somebody who can just walk away from a particular situation, right? Like, so if you're not interested in those things, honestly, I would say don't go into ownership, to be honest with you. If you're interested in those things, then go into it. But if you're not, there are easier ways to get to your financial end games than ownership.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of people feel like if you're owning that you're automatically buying a higher income by purchasing a practice, which is, we all know it's false, right? And I owned 2 practices for about 13 years, both of which were very successful, but it comes at a cost, right? What are some of the costs that you've seen? How long have you been in owning so far?
A year.
What are some of the costs? Because we know the benefits, right? And we're going to keep talking about the benefits of it. But what are some of the costs that maybe you knew about and some that you didn't anticipate, both financial and moral and spiritual and mental costs that you found in this first year?
Number one, it's just going to be a pay cut, for sure. Unless you're walking into a patient base that you're acquiring and that already has revenue already built up, which you're going to pay a higher premium for, right? More chances than not, you're going to take a pay cut to move into ownership immediately, right? And then number 2, it's going to be mentally taxing. I mean, there's no more just clocking out and you're done, right? There's going to be a lot of mental energy that goes into this thinking about how to make your practice better, right? Ultimately, the main cost that's going to be associated is that you're going to have to become your practice. So my wife and I always joke that your practice becomes like your baby, like it's an infant. It can't really take care of itself until a certain point, right? So now you're really nursing this thing on until it can really get on its feet and start walking on its own. And until it can start walking on its own, you have to be okay with being by it for every step necessary. So there's a lot of costs associated. But at the same time, I will say, as well as there's costs, there's a lot of pros. Your financial upside, literally, it either doubles or it becomes exponentially greater in practice ownership if done correctly. But at the same time, let's not just look at the high side, let's look at the low side, and let's figure out where we personally lie in the middle. As dentists, sometimes we look at particular statistics, and we always say, if this is the 50th percentile, I got to be above that. But we got to realize somebody has to be above the 50th percentile. Somebody has to be above and below the 50th percentile for there to be a 50th percentile. So we got to get really real with ourselves and figure out where do we lie in that particular trajectory so we can now start working real plans for the future.
So, one thing that I actually find funny is a lot of dentists want to be dental owners. They want to be there. They want to have their own office, their own practice, and so forth. But Leroy always talks about this. You have to be a business owner. So I asked you this because you got your MBA, right? Was that solely because of your goal of being a practice owner, which maybe then expands into be multiple practices and having multiple practices, and then maybe having a DSO, whatever it may be? Was that MBA something that you said I needed in order to understand business, first off, and then also to grow a business?
That's a great question. The reason I got my MBA is because I wanted to speak the language of business.
Okay.
I didn't want it to be a myth to me, right? There are so many things, again, because where I come from, we're not really have access to a lot of different information. So a lot of things are like, it feels kind of mystical to me. Like, does this really exist? Can I really learn this information? And I remember vividly the day I decided I was going to get my MBA. We were actually in undergrad and we were talking to the vice president of our hospital system that was connected to our school at East Carolina. And I asked him, so what kind of doctor are you? Because like, what kind of doctor I needed to be able to run this hospital? He said, I'm not a doctor. I said, what kind of degree do you have? He said, I have an MBA. I said, you're telling me I don't have to go to 12, 15, 16 years of schooling to be able to run this hospital? He said, no, I have my MBA, man. I just speak the language of business. That's when I decided at that point, I had to learn the language of business. And then I went to my MBA program and I learned that the language of business is much simpler than we really realize. Business school is easier and simpler than dental school. Business school is about collaboration. Dental school, unfortunately, gets to a point it's about competition.
Mm.
And that's why I love.
You know what? Hold on. Say that again. I need somebody to hear. Say that again, man. Because people don't talk enough about it. Say that again.
Yeah. Business school is about collaboration. Dental school, unfortunately, it gets to a point it's about competition. And it should not be that way. And that was probably the biggest cultural shock I had coming from my MBA program to dental school. I'm coming from a perspective that we spent 2 years of just collaborative. We have case studies. We have nights that we just figure out how can we maximize these particular business plans and different things like that. And I'm coming to dental school. I'm thinking, okay, we got 82 people here. We should be able to knock this thing out the park. You quickly find out that people have different plans. I'll put it that way, right? That's the easiest and nicest way I can put that. And that's just unfortunately how it goes. And then it's just learn from that particular point moving forward to work in a silo when it shouldn't be that way. And if we worked in a more collaborative way, imagine what this thing called dentistry could really be.
Okay. Now, this business background of yours, has it aided you at all in your dealings with insurances at all?
For sure. For sure. Again, it's just understanding the language of business, understanding that when are you in a power position and when are you not in a power position? When can you push a little further in negotiation? When can you not? Just simple soft skills like that is probably the biggest area in which it helps with. And for me in particular, even when I was traveling and working between different offices, I wanted to do all my own credentialing. I wanted to see everything firsthand. I want to submit my own claims. I want to do everything on my own. So by the time it's time for the lights to turn on, it's game time. I've already touched and seen a little bit of everything. So that's what it really taught me from the business perspective. You want to know a little bit about everything. That's all the MBA is. We take a little bit of business law, a little bit of finance, a little bit of accounting. So you know a little bit about everything. And that's why I think personally as a GP, it resonates with me so much because I know a little bit about everything. And the things that I don't know, I know I need to go get help with.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask you this, kind of knowing the answer, but I want to ask you this, Ready? How is it, good or bad, hard or not, working with family? And the reason I say that is because at one point I worked with my wife, and thank God that I was smart enough to leave. Because, you don't, it's not like it was, aggressive or anything. It just, you realize that I have my input, she has her input, and sometimes my input doesn't match her input. And so I needed to kind of be like, okay, I'm going to step over here. Sure. Right. And so I ask you that, how hard or easy is it to have your brother that you work with, your wife that you work with, and trying to build this, we'll call it an empire because that's the name of your dental office?
It's not easy, but I would say it's not as hard as people told me it was going to be.
He's so truthful. I love him, man. He's so truthful.
I'm going to be honest. It's not as hard as people told me it would be, but I would say that's unique to our situation. From what I've seen, it will not work in most situations. Unless there's a clear designation on what you have the final call on and what this person has the final call on, it can't work, to be honest with you. So at what point, when we first bought the office, I got kicked out of my own office. My wife kicked me out because she was redesigning the entire office. And I'm saying, oh, we can keep this chair or we can keep this light. And she's like, you know what? I can't really do work like this. And she sent me out on the road. And I remember I was gone for like a span of 2 months. I only came back on weekends. And in that time, she was redesigning the entire office. And now it's absolutely beautiful. So it's important as dentists, we don't really get too big on ourselves and think that we have the final call on everything. We know everything. Again, know what is in the 80 to 85% of your wheelhouse and know what's not, right? When it comes to decoration and design, I have 3 brothers. All right. Our house was brown and yellow. Yes. I mean, we really do design. I come from a Nigerian background. We're not that big on aesthetics. Okay. Like,
functionality.
Right? Is it functional? If it works, it stays. So for me, that's not my wheelhouse. I need to get out the way and let her do what she needs to do. Right. Now, if it's a business decision, she has that faith in me to know that, okay, I'm going to make this right decision. Now, when it comes to something tax and accounting, for instance, at the end of last year, I remember I sat down with Kingsley and we had a conversation saying, so there's this amount of money left. What should we do? And he said, you know what? Either you're going to spend it or you're going to give it to the government, one of the two. Mm-hmm. And I remember we worked diligently to get the CBCT installed into our office right at the end of last year. I had to fly out for a wedding. He had to actually stay into the office while CareStream installed the CBCT on December 30th. So it's again, like I could say, well, you know what? I get to make the call because, I did the dentistry, so I make the final call when it comes to the money. Or I could say, you know what? This is your level of expertise. Let's get what we need. Mentors told me, don't get a CBCT for 3-4 years. He said, go ahead and get the CBCT because you got to spend it one way or another. So it's just really leaning on individuals and letting it do the expertise is the only way really family business can really live and thrive.
So I hope that we can have you on in like 4 or 5 years, right? When your practice has grown, you got a large staff. Because hands down, staff hate it when the wife manages. And I've, especially because, you got usually a female staff. There's always some type of dynamic tension that goes on between a managing wife, a husband who obviously has to support the wife and may not always be able to make impartial judgments. I've seen some people navigate it well and other people not so much. So I would love to kind of highlight this part of the discussion so we can revisit it. Because, you may come back with the answer or you may come back and say, yeah, we had to open up 2 and I have this one, she has that one.
Right.
But I think it is dope that you're able to, have your family close. They're all invested in the business. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to look after you the way family is. So that's always going to be the upside to working with family, despite any, difficulties that you may have. But tell us about actually running your business now. How large is your staff? And you said that running a business is harder now. So I'm assuming you're also alluding to the staffing shortages and the, hygiene shortage, assistant shortage. What are some of the difficulties that you're seeing now as a practice owner?
I want to hop into that. But first, I want to say, that's the reason I appreciate the perspective y'all bring to it, right? Because again, I'm trying to create a future that I've never seen before, right? Mm-hmm. So now we get to listen to you two on a regular basis and now learn from y'all's experiences. So hopefully I can navigate some landmines that hopefully I don't have to step on, Because again,
I think you're gonna do well. There's something that tells me you're gonna be fine. So don't worry about that part at all. But like he said, we've seen that so many times that this is gonna be interesting in like 4 or 5 years. I pray that you come back on so you can tell us this because I think your honesty is key to everything that you've been saying so far.
For sure. Our staff right now, I'm the dentist. I'm the only dentist on staff right now. And as well as my wife, she's the hygienist. We have everybody's cross-trained in the office, so everybody knows how to do the front, back. Everybody knows how to work virtually. Everybody knows how to do notes. Everybody knows how to sterilize. Everybody can do everything, right? Then my brother, he is functional CFO, so he works virtually. And then we have 2 assistants / front desk that work. We just hired a 3rd, and we have somebody who's going to be coming in and start their externship. So then we all work collaboratively together to get things done. When we're not in office, one of the ladies is always working virtually. So they pick up phone calls, they schedule, they do all the checking up on claims. Now, because I submit my own claims, I know what it looks like when things are overdue, right? Or not paid correctly, right? So now we can put together a functional list for them to work on, even when they're not in office. So we work 12-hour shifts. So we only work 3 days a week. So on those extra days when they want to pick up hours, there's always work for them to do.
So you talked about technology, the CBCT that you bought your first year. I've actually seen this kind of go wrong because somebody's bought something that they just, it was just they overspent. They weren't just productive enough to have it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that that's you at all, but I've seen it go the other way. When and how do you make, besides with your brother, how do you make decisions of, okay, next we can purchase this CBCT that's 60,000, 100,000. Next you can purchase this laser. Next you can purchase this, Surak, right? How do you make those decisions going forward?
So for myself personally, I believe in case studying. Like I like to see what are the things that I already do, so then I can buy the things that I need necessary to take it to the next level. Yeah. So everything you named, that's already how we move. We bought the CBCT first, and then we bought the laser, right? But that's after figuring out, we have a very periodontally heavy population. So we need to be able to help them in different ways, and then so we can send them over to you when things get a little too heavy, No,
I just love the fact that you actually even care about perio. I mean, we're not biased. We're not biased.
But that's just how it went. Based off of the needs that we have in the office is how we acquire, right? So at the same time, I could definitely see how certain purchases can be made and not utilized. Definitely. So that's the reason we don't make too many purchases, but we make big purchases for what we need, right? We have the laser for what we need. We have the CBCT for what we need. We have the iTero for what we need to be able to make sure we take care of the bigger things, right? But then at the same time, eventually, hopefully one day I can get to y'all's point where I can start getting some toys. But right now, we just buy the functional things,
That's right. That's right.
That's what's up, man. Do you think that you're looking at a multi-practice model, or do you think you just want to see how one goes and then see if you want to expand? So let me take that back. Is your ultimate goal to make money without practicing dentistry, or do you always see practicing as a core part of what you do, even as a business owner?
That's a good question. Do I see myself practicing full time forever? No, definitely not. I think I'm best used in a different capacity. I definitely see myself practicing in some type of way or another. I don't really know what it means. But again, we're getting back into the talk of me becoming something I've never seen before. I've never seen anybody retire from dentistry early, I've never seen anybody create multiple practices and then take a step back, right? So to answer that question would not really be giving you an honest answer. I'm open to whatever comes with it. I just understand whatever the hard work necessarily that it takes to achieve that end game, I'm all for. But I do appreciate the fact that for myself personally, what makes me special is my business acumen more than my clinical acumen. So how can I help bring that to the world to be able to help empower more dentists in the future? If that means multiple practices, then I'm all for it. If that means staying in our practice, I mean, we right now we have 6 ops and we're plumbed for 8. We can expand to 10. We can have multiple dentists in this office. Again, we work 12-hour shifts. We can split shift if we need to. We can help a lot of people different ways. I like to give myself versatility. So if it does mean multiple practices, I'm all for it. If it means one, then it means one. Whatever the Lord takes me is where I'm willing to go.
So why don't you tell some of the young aspiring entrepreneurs, we know that you can help people with dentistry. What are ways you can help people as a business owner in your surrounding community, the next generation that's coming up behind you? What are some of the solid, tangible ways that you are a resource now, not just as a provider, but as an entrepreneur as well?
I think the closer you get to your business mind, the more help you actually are to more people. So just last week, we had our turkey giveaway. We partnered with other organizations and we gave away almost 200 turkeys in Charlotte and Greenville, North Carolina. That's just one small way we can help people, right? Also, our facility other organizations have now been able to come in and utilize our facilities on weekends, be able to have certain programming to be able to help minority particular populations. So one in particular, one of our patients, she came through and she wanted to have like a self-help group. Her and about 5 other self-help coaches came in, and they couldn't really afford an opportunity to be able to rent out a location. So they used the dental office as a way to start the organization and move forward. We've been able to have free health days. There's so many different ways. The closer you are to who you are as a business person as well as a practitioner, the more useful you are to people in more than just a dental capacity. So there's just so many ways you can help people as a business person. You can help people as a dentist as well, but truly in the most altruistic way. As a business person, I feel like I do more good for the community than I do as a dentist sometimes.
So, I'm going to wrap it up here, but my best question, you've answered this kind of throughout, and you've said this throughout. You kept mentioning mentorship. You said, well, I have multiple mentors that I can connect with. I have mentors that have said this to me and so forth. How important is mentorship when it comes to where you are right now?
Mentorship is so key because it helps you map out your steps. Like, take it from me as a person who didn't have steps, right? You're just creating it as you go versus now having real people in front of you you can ask particular questions. I think mentorship is so key, and that's the reason it keeps me involved in a lot of these organizations and now wanting to go back to schools. Because as I've been mentored now, I'm seeing that I can avoid a lot of steps by just asking and telling people I don't know, right? Sometimes people get it mixed up because I do come off a little confident that I'm above people telling me what I am good at and what I'm not good at, right? I feel like I enjoy people being honest with me, especially people you trust. It has to be somebody you trust. Somebody who can tell you, you know what, I see where you're going here, but you might want to move this way. I see where you're going here, and I might want to move that way. And I don't know if it's just because I grew up with brothers and my father and everybody. I've always had people around me that I trust to tell me their true honesty, or is it just because my evolution in dentistry has led to this particular point? But by being able to find a group to plug in or individuals to plug in is key. And one thing I say is good mentorship is key, but there's also a such thing as bad mentorship. Somebody who does not believe in what you believe in, who does not believe in your particular outcome. So you got to be very careful when you are choosing your mentors and understand you have, number one, you have the right to change your mentors. And number two, you need to have mentors for different areas. Don't have one mentor and think they're going to teach you about family life, business, dentistry, and how to build a house, like you talked about earlier, right? You might need to get a mentor for how to build a house, right, a mentor for how to raise a family, a mentor for business, and a mentor for dentistry, right? And to be able to expect all those components from one person just truly isn't fair, right? We're all flawed in those different areas. And that's something I personally understood. And I know usually when I'm mentoring somebody, it's to help them build their financial life.
That's awesome, man. Honestly, we'll end it here just so you can, relax that you're on the East Coast and we dragged you late tonight. We appreciate your time, and we definitely appreciate your time coming through, man. Do you have any advice, any last words? I mean, you're very much an eloquent speaker. Do you have any last words that you would want to tell everybody or tell the people who are listening on, one, how to get a hold of you? Because I'm sure people want to connect with you. What podcast, what you're doing next, whatever's the future, what the future brings for you, please go ahead and let us know.
The first thing I would say is learn from other people's experiences. I didn't hear about my first dental podcast in my second year in dental school. I didn't even know they existed. And then a friend put me on and said, you know what, there's a dental podcast that actually teaches entrepreneurship. And I'm listening to it, and I'm just like, I'm learning more on this podcast than I am in class. So to be able to have a Truth Be Told who has been around for multiple years, have guests reoccurring, honestly, to be able to plug in and go back into years of your content, really take advantage of that opportunity you have, right? Plug into as many podcasts that you can possibly listen to get the information that you need, right? Skip over years of struggling when you can just get the information straight, right?
Well said.
Now, the next thing would be when it comes to your finances, I don't want you to ever think that it is a sticky game, that, you know what, I'm either choosing dentistry or I'm choosing to be rich, right? I don't want that line to ever be blurred. I want you to understand that the sooner you get to your financial goals in a healthy way, the sooner you can practice in a way that is uninhibited by any type of financial motives. I've always thought to myself that when you are financially free, a MOD never becomes a crown. It stays with exactly what it's supposed to be. So honestly, we owe it to our patients to be indifferent of financial motives. So you got to take it as a personal challenge to be able to become the best dentist I possibly can. I need to never have to have something else that's struggling or battle within myself. Is this really this, or should it be something greater? And last but not least, it's simply put, simple financial formula that will honestly drastically change anybody's life is save more than you spend, invest more than you save. I'm going to repeat that, okay? I need you to save more than you spend, meaning if you get $100, right? I need you to be saving 51 of those $100. You got 49 you can enjoy. Do whatever you want. Have a great time, right? Of that $51, 26 of those dollars need to be invested. You need to be putting it somewhere that can earn more income and get in the future, right? Some people get into the habit of saving with no end game in mind. Now you have money that has been sitting, but it's not really earning anything. If you're consistently investing, whether it be investing into a business, investing into a home, investing into other people around you, investing in stocks, whatever it is like that, a portion of your income always has the potential to outgrow your income, while you always have that safety net sitting and waiting. But guess what? You still got 49 you get to enjoy, right? So again, simply put, save more than you spend, invest more than you save. You can find me at Dr. MBA LLC. You can also find us at Team Financial. If you want any financial information, that's Kingsley Dental Specific CPA page. It's been an absolute pleasure to host this with you, man. Oh my goodness gracious. I appreciate everything y'all do for dentistry, man. It's pioneers like you and your partner, Dr. Horton, that allow us to be able to create futures that we've never seen before, man. So thank you for inspiring the next generation. We really appreciate it.
Mic drop. The end. I'm not going to say anything.
And that's it for part 2. Go ahead and show my guys Real Tooth Be Told podcast some love. Follow them on Instagram at Real Tooth Be Told. Can't wait to see you next week.